Hello everybody. So I've been doing some charting this afternoon slash this evening just to go over the basis for basically the theory that I have that we're about to see some pretty good price action coming back into the market. As you'll kind of know already, we are almost certainly going to get some volatility this week. Now, I'll go over the reasons for that in a while, but there's a lot of things that are starting to align here, and I wanted to do a video just based off of why I myself, although it may seem kind of crazy to most of you right now, and almost seems kind of crazy to me, why I am long and looking for more longs on not just Bitcoin, but other markets as well. So I do think that obviously the markets are looking pretty bad right now. There's a lot of bearish sentiment around. Economically, the world's not in a great place. However, even if we're looking at the very worst scenarios that we've been talking about over the past few months, where even if we do go into another 2008 style crisis and things do start to fall apart, having not been able to make that higher low, and now markets continuing to pull back as we go into this week. Even with that, even back in 2008, you still saw this relief rally that came in around about this phase of the market before things really started to get bad. So I want to present this as an idea because if we effectively have a month or 2 months of potential relief, that could really lead to some quite major moves to the upside on Bitcoin, and I do think that that can drag a lot of the altcoins up with it. So I'm going to present an idea to you. Think a bit how you want. This is just charting. This is going over a narrative. Again, as you'll know, I always like to have a narrative to what I am trading. I always like there to be a story. And I think that plays a big part in my own personal trading strategy, and also to help form a bias to know what side of the market you really want to be on. So this is just a we'll go straight into it. So click the like button, hit subscribe if you haven't done so already, do all of those things, but we'll just get into the technicals here. Now, what we are looking at on a higher time frame, and I'm not going to pretend that I am an Elliott Wave master, but I've been watching some videos by the French Bull, one of our wonderful coaches, and he has inspired me slightly just to look at this in terms of the waves that we've had locally. So what I'm seeing basically at the start of this range here appears to me to be a leading diagonal, okay? And by that, it just means almost like we're not seeing anything massively impulsive. It is just leading. It's kind of the start of a new potential few waves that we may get towards the upside. What we then follow that with has been a very kind of typical ABC, okay, where you have your A, B, C, okay, or ABCD correction coming down here. Now, this kind of forms the basis of the idea that I'm going to be showing you today, which means that, first of all, we have a very clear low down here that quite simply cannot be taken out. So if you are going into a leading diagonal such as this, you cannot be taking out this low. And unless it's, well, I mean, even then, even like a little SFP or something off of this would kind of turn this into, I guess, something a little bit different, where you're looking at this being a larger wave instead. So for this like specific idea, this low is kind of sacred. We're not going to be taking it out, and we're not supposed to be taking it out. In the same way that this high becomes a target, okay? And that's just, again, one idea formulated from, I mean, loads of different outcomes. But we've got a few other things, okay? I'm going to put this high up here as well, because this comes into play a little bit later on. Now, I'm looking for, I don't want this one actually just yet. Another interesting thing that we have now is you guys will be very aware of what we have coming up this week. Okay, so this line here on the 12th of October, Wednesday the 12th of October at 1 p.m. UK time is when we have some very major news starting to come into the market. We've got core PPI, we've got PPI month on month, we've got the FOMC meetings, and then going into Thursday we've got CPI, and of course we've got G20 meetings all this week as well. So there is a lot of very important stuff going on this week. It is going to bring volatility into the markets. And if you look back at, let's say, the dollar, which has been pumping for the most part of the week, if you look back at the NASDAQ, apologies, this is an idea, that has just taken out lows once again here, it feels to me as if prices are being driven down quite forcefully at this stage, and they are pricing in whatever is going to happen. So if, generally speaking, if you are pricing in downside going into one of these news events, it does quite often reverse. So it just gives me a reason to think that, okay, maybe we do go lower here locally and we do still have targets to the downside, but as long as we're not really taking out that low, which is another 8% to the downside, then I do think we have the potential for, well, you can see it yourself, okay? Potential there for, at the very least, 30, looking up towards 70% upside over the next month or two. So something else that just backs up this from, you may be one of those traders that's like, you don't trade the news, I just focus on the technicals and that's it. So we have something else that's there at like literally exactly the same time. So actually, let me put this back on the chart and let me show you a couple of fib times that we have. First of all, within this structure, purely this structure that we have here, from this point down here to this point here, if you were to draw a fib time, that brings you in to your 0, 1, and 2 coming in on exactly the same day. Okay, so that comes in basically on your open there, as we go in to that Wednesday, which is where we are expecting volatility. So that's the first one. Okay, so just a very simple 1, 2, 3, or 0, 1, 2 on your fib time there. Secondly, if you were then to connect 1, 2, 3 points here, okay, so you're a big kind of wave coming down, then this gives us this one. Okay, so if you go from your 0, 1, 2 there, this is your 0.618 lining up at the exact moment that that news is going to be coming out on Wednesday. So not only do we have potential news events coming in, not only do I kind of feel that we're in the process of maybe pricing in the downside, and that often is reversed afterwards. We've seen the last time we had CPI and PPI in the same week, it was pricing in upside and it quickly retraced the whole thing. Okay, so now we're pricing in downside, it very easily could retrace the whole thing. So there are the news events, but if you are one of those that, I sometimes am like that as well, it's I just care about the technicals. We have fibs lining up at that very point also. So this leads me into what you would then be expecting is this being a diagonal, kind of going into a corrective wave, and then you're looking at a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, however far it might take you. So that leads me into another impulse wave coming up here, which maybe is going to see us very impulsive coming up here to take out these highs, looking at this 25, 26k region, and potentially then forming a trend that aims for the highs up here. Now, these are the ones you've got to aim for. Okay, this high here being the one that took the major low and that formed our recent low. So if we are going to go into a more of an impulse wave going up, it almost has to take this out. So you're looking there at 32k plus. Okay, there's going to be resistance on the way, but we're looking at 32k plus on this. So what this also gives is, if we are to take our low to our high here, then we also have our -1 expansion up at the highs here. So this basically being equal from here to here, sorry, there to there, equal there to there, which again gives you confluence. What we also have at that 0.618, I think, I haven't actually checked this yet, but this looks to me as though it could be very close to the POC of that range right there. So again, you've got confluence there that is lining up with everything, that kind of almost makes a scary amount of sense that this is a narrative that we could be seeing coming into play very soon. And just to add one other layer onto that, we have a fractal from last summer that, if you were to overlay that onto the chart, now, and this is from the summer, where we came out of this phase of the market here. We had that big move up, and then we got that corrective move back down. That is overlaid onto this chart, this. So we have here an opportunity, I guess, that kind of fits quite nicely to be looking at a move that just seems to almost make sense. And then you're looking up here, I guess this is a long way off, but then how important was 42k from back last year? If we were looking at this again as being a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then A, B, C coming down, and then another 1, 2, 3, 4, I can't even do that on here, 5, and then you're basically looking at this as being a bigger 3 waves up off of here. So just an idea. I'm not saying it's going to happen. It is, certainly something that is very much speculative, and it's not something that I often do, but it is something that I wanted to present to you guys. I wanted to make you aware of why it is that I am looking at this scenario, why it is that I am, I guess, a little bit more bullish than a lot of the market is currently. And this also goes for a lot of the altcoins as well, where we are seeing some pretty major possible long-term accumulations going on, which, if Bitcoin can get a move like this, is going to drag the market with it quite substantially. So yeah, that's the idea. I've talked about that quite enough. I just want to quickly flick through some of the rest of the markets now, because there are other things that are backing this up, not just from one chart itself. Nasdaq taking the lows here, creating these divergences at the bottom, triple 4-hour bullish divergence, which is something I really love on any chart. Now, a shark or whatever kind of harmonic you want to do that, if you want to take it into the 886, if you want to just take it into the 786, some kind of cipher going on there, or Gartley, whatever, then there are certainly ideas and things with the Nasdaq here coming down. We have the DXY that, having come into golden pocket support recently, which we were saying was going to give us a bounce, we're now coming back into that as resistance. So are we going to see this start to slow down and maybe even get a move to the downside? Or even if we are going to see a move up towards the yearly level there, then maybe the markets can just hang on. Actually, no, that's impossible. We're not going to get a move up that far within a couple of days, because that's the time scale that I'm talking about here. But yeah, there's potential here that the DXY is finding some resistance. What we also have to be aware of is things like this, looking at the United States, like the inflation rate. This is the data that's going to come out this week, where we are expecting a cool down on this from 8.3 down to 8.1. So have we seen the worst? Is the worst behind us? Looking at the 10-year yields as well, a very good indicator of rates overall. So if yields are going up, basically interest rates are going up, it's a proxy for that. And what we have done there is just taken out we are now at the highest rate since the 2008 financial crisis. So you have the financial crisis that comes here, you put in a high, or a lower high in that case, and this has taken the best part of 15 years to come back up into these highs. So are we going to start to see this cool off? Okay, and then you've got the PPI, which again we're going to get this year. Have we seen the worst of it? Okay, we saw massive inflation earlier on in the year. The last couple of months, it's cooled off. We've actually gone into negative. So are we going to see this start to plateau and things start to look a little bit better potentially on the charts? So that's everything really that I wanted to share. Yeah, like there are other altcoins and things as well that we're looking at. Obviously, if this scenario does play out, then you really want to be able to take advantage of it. So it could be quite impulsive, and if we are to get a move that starts to take us up, it's one of those that you're going to have to be very careful in shorting, because I do think that we're going to see a new phase coming into the market that's almost inevitably going to start this week. I can say this with quite a lot of confidence, we are going to get a big move. Now, if that is down, then we can be looking for swing failure patterns of the low, and we could look to run that back up, in which case it starts to become another corrective wave here, or whatever it is we're looking at, and then that could still potentially lead us to more upside. But for this very scenario, if we do start to see price move up and start to move up on volume, it's probably going to last, and it is probably going to be targeting some major highs off of this. So a bullish case when the whole world is bearish, take it as you will. I hope you found this fairly interesting and informative. Again, if you are kind of new to this channel and you haven't seen a video of mine before, and you're kind of wondering what the hell is he talking about, I want to get more answers on this, I want to find out more information, then please do go check out tauruscrypto.com. The link is up there at the top. Okay, there is of course never any financial advice here, but this is where you can find out more about our community. You can contact over here. There's a little button down the bottom where you can find out more, and you can also join our Discord and so on in the which is in the description below. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. A little bit of a change of pace there, I guess, and a change of content, but an idea for you all. So I hope that gives you some food for thought and inspires you to feel maybe maybe a little bit more bullish, despite everything that's going on. So anyway, it's going to be a lot of fun this week. Fib time, news events, lots of stuff coming together. Let's see what happens. If it's this one, bragging rights, beers are on me, and yeah, we're going to enjoy it. So cheers, bye.